If you've stumbled upon this video, it tells me that your calories are probably in the toilet right now, meaning that your calories are pretty low and you're getting concerned like, what's the actual lowest that I can bring my calories down to? Well, I'm going to answer this today and I'm going to show you the absolute lowest point that you should actually ever bring your calories to. So now, when we begin a fat loss phase, the goal is to be able to lose as much body fat as possible. But we want to do this as sustainably as possible. The problem is most people are in too much of a rush to lose weight quickly. And I get it. You want to be done with it. You have an event, you want to hurry up, and you don't want to be in a fat loss phase forever. Totally understand that. But you have to think long term. When you drop your calories to a point that there is almost a point of no return. And if you drop them to a certain point, you're gonna have trouble with your metabolism and you're gonna have trouble and you're gonna gain all that weight back. We need to look at long-term sustainable process and fat loss. And the only way to do that is to focus on doing it the way I'm about to explain. So let's go through a hypothetical scenario of someone who starts a diet. Again, you're getting aggressive. You want to lose fat pretty quickly. So you start, and we'll go with a woman as an example here, but I'll talk about men in a minute. But let's say you're a woman, you start this diet on that magical number that most women start at, which is 1,200 calories. Now, let's say prior to the diet, you were eating 2,000 calories every day. So you created an 800 calorie deficit every day right off the jump. The problem is, and what happens is, your body gets used to it. Your body's main goal is to keep you alive. It's not to get you lean, right? So I'll let that sink in. Your body's main goal is not to get you lean. So if you focus on that and understand that that's your body's main goal, you'll lose a bunch of weight really quickly in the first initial weeks because you created such a big deficit. But what happens is you hit the wall and your body refuses to let any more weight go because it's just like, all right, I'm at too much of a deficit here. I don't like this. And like I said, genetically, our bodies are predispositioned to add fat on, not take it off. Fat is a storage device for extra energy. So what happens is you hit this wall. Now you're at the point that you might be at where you're like, well, I'm not losing any more weight, so I need to change my diet. So what you start to do is you start to tack away more calories. All right, I'll cut out the bread from dinner. I'll cut out this. I'll cut out that. And you end up at 1,000 calories. Some women get really extreme. They end up at 900 calories. That's really, really bad because what starts to happen is you get to the point where you're crash dieting. When you crash diet, you lose muscle mass, your metabolism slows down, and like I said, all that weight comes back on. And it comes back on with a vengeance. It comes back on faster, and you actually end up fatter than you were when you began. So let's just say you started at 170 pounds, 150 pounds, whatever it was. At the end of all this, you'd end up heavier because your metabolism is slower now. So very bad thing that happens, right? And then you end the diet. Let's say you finally do get there and you end the diet at that 900 calorie mark. Well, that's bad. That's very, very bad. First of all, 900 calories for a female is not sustainable. What are you eating? Air? Not a good thing. So the absolute lowest I would recommend a female or male go would be around, for a female, I would say the lowest point would be, again, and I hate to give these numbers because they're not set in stone. Some women, this can trigger that, like what I said earlier, hitting that wall. And every person's built differently. Like I said, it all depends on where you're starting from. If you're a woman and you're starting at 250 pounds and you drop right to the magical 1,200 calories, you're going to lose weight for the first couple of weeks and then it's just going to stall out. Because it's not going to be sustainable, you're going to binge. So before I actually give you these numbers, I want to talk about pulling this lever instead. So if you've picked up my blueprint book, which is in the link in the description, it would give you a good starting point number for calories. But let's say you didn't actually pull that number. You hit the wall. What do you do now? Well, now we have to create the deficit some other way. We created too big of a deficit when we started. So a good lever to pull is strength training, because the strength training will help you to retain the muscle mass that you have. And it's also a lever that will maintain your metabolism, which will keep that metabolism burning. So we want to make sure we pull that. So any weight that does come off is fat. This lever is a lot more sustainable to pull because it's easier to add in workout sessions than it is to keep cutting calories. Because you keep cutting these calories lower, like I said, you're going to be eating air. Now, the main thing you got to ask yourself is this sustainable? Is what I'm doing sustainable? And you might be saying, well, but I have an event. I have a wedding to go to, and I want to look really good for the wedding. Well, don't diet 4 weeks before the wedding. Start earlier. Give yourself, 3, 4, 5, 6 months before these things. Don't wait till last minute to do that, because it's not going to be sustainable and you're going to gain all your weight back. So what I would recommend doing is when you do hit this wall, if you stop losing and you're not losing and you just find yourself to the point of like, I can't even stay on the diet, where it's like you do let's just say 1200 is the lowest that you get to, or 900. We'll say this person got to 900 calories is the lowest point that they got. How many days are they actually going to be able to sustain that? Maybe Mondays, Tuesday, maybe. By Wednesday, their willpower is gone. Thursday, they start to get hungry. Friday, they have an event and they start eating more and more, and they binge and they binge and they binge, and then they go back on Monday to this number again. You're not going to get anywhere. You're in a vicious cycle, something I call the diet cycle. And you could watch that video on this channel here where I talk about that. But you go through this cycle and you want to avoid going through that cycle. It's not sustainable. So if it's not sustainable, it's not going to last. But what you need to do, and once you end a fat loss phase and you're just like, okay, I'm not losing anymore, I'm done with this, you need to reverse diet. So, and you have to look for what's next. So let's just say, for argument's sake, you ended the diet at 1200 calories. Now, you need to be able to reverse on 1200 calories and be able to maintain your weight on that. If you go from 1200 calories, let's say you want to get in shape for a wedding. You get in shape for the wedding, you do really good, you get in shape, you follow these calories all the way to. If you jump your calories from 1200 back to the original 2000 that you were eating, you're going to gain a bunch of weight back and more. So what you need to do is you need to reverse this. And the way you reverse this is every week you add 100 calories back in, and you need to see what happens to your body, how your body starts to respond. You'll find that as you keep adding these calories back in, as long as you're not gaining weight and your weight's remaining stagnant, you're going to get hungrier and hungrier. And that's your metabolism turning back on again. So you'll find that, but you need to be able to do that and push those limits higher and higher every time. But here's the moment you've been waiting for in this whole video. What is the absolute lowest that you should bring your calories? Again, I'm just the guy on YouTube talking about this, but I'm trying to prevent this from happening. And again, every time in this scenarios, things are always going to be different. If you're a competitive athlete, there are times where you need to bring your calories down lower. But if you're just a normal person, not a competitive athlete or anything like that, then these are the absolute lowest I would recommend. Again, it just really depends, and I would not recommend starting at these low points for the reasons I described earlier. But the absolute lowest for a female that I would bring would be, and I'm so like dreading putting a number on here because I don't want you guys to be fixed to it, but the absolute lowest number would be 1100 calories. Anything less than that, you're going to risk shutting your metabolism off, basically going on a starvation diet, and you're setting yourself up for failure long term because you're not going to be able to sustain that. For men, I would say the lowest, again, depends on the person, depends how big, but again, 1500 calories is probably the bare minimum for both where I would be. Every person's different, but if you find yourself lower than these numbers, you need to reevaluate your situation because you've probably hit a wall doing this. And when you hit the wall doing this, you're not gonna make progress long term. If you guys want help with any of this, you can click the links below, pick up my diet blueprint book on Amazon, which walks you through step by step exactly how many calories you need and when to make these changes to your nutrition. This was Anthony, AB Fitness Center. Subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Our overcrowded personal training gym is in need of trainers. We are drowning in new clients that want and need instruction, and we need you. Certification is a plus, but not necessary. We are growing fast, and there are many opportunities for growth inside our company. So send me a message now if you are interested in working with the best.